And I am about to be joined by a colleague of mine who I'll introduce shortly. But firstly, thanks very much for joining us and welcome. We are running another one of our sessions. We ran a webinar last week, which predominantly dealt with the government stimulus packages and all of the relevant issues that surrounded that. So we've decided to run these more regularly. Today, we are focusing a bit more on something that's of importance to most people out there at the moment, being JobKeeper payments, as well as talking about cash flow planning for your business and for yourself personally. Thank you very much. I'm hoping that I have got my colleague Claude on board. Claude, you're unmuted now, so we should be able to hear you if you're...
Yes. Hi, Calvin. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for everyone for joining in.
Great. Okay, look, we will skip through this fairly quickly. I'm trying to keep this fairly well on time, and we said we'll keep people for hopefully 30 minutes to 45 minutes and then have you out of here by about 12:15. So there is a couple of things I ask everyone to just be aware of. I have got everyone muted at the moment. So if you wouldn't mind just keeping it that way, just keep some of the feedback out of the way. We will run through our set presentation and then there'll be a bit of a question and answer session at the end. So our PowerPoint here says that the chat function will be available at the end of the session. However, I've asked Serena to open it up so that you can ask questions as we go along. We might not be able to answer them straight off. However, we will come back to them and hopefully a number of the questions that you do raise may get answered later in the session. So without any further delay, I'll jump straight into what we are looking at. And it's only, a couple of things this week. Most importantly, the new JobKeeper payments coming from the government. We want to give you a bit of detail around how that will work, how you can access it, and what's in it for your business and yourself personally. As well as we're going to have a very quick look at cash flow planning and what we call a quick and dirty cash flow and how you can utilize that in your business. We have had a number of questions, not only in relation to today's session where we asked for a few questions, but over the past week we've had people coming to us and asking us things. We'll then have a bit of a chat about business planning and continuity for you and your business and what this means. So we'll run through that and finally we'll round out by what we're seeing people needing help with, how we're helping them, where they need assistance from their banks, from the government, from the ATO, from various other parties. So we'll have a quick chat at the end about that as well. So I will move through. The key to what we want to talk about today is the JobKeeper payments. The ATO have come out and said that they are going to support business by effectively allowing those businesses that employ people, they're going to make a payment to them to cover or assist with covering wages for existing employees. So some of the detail that we have got so far, and keep in mind, we've had a lot of questions, but the detail has been fairly scant to date. So there's certain things that we do know, and there's other information we're still waiting on. So primarily the ATO has been tasked with administering the JobKeeper payments. So that is good in one way and bad in another, because the government have come out and said that they want to get this money to businesses and their employees. However, it does mean that it has to be tracked through the ATO. And we know already that the ATO is under pressure in certain areas to handle a lot of the things that they're being asked to handle at the moment, but primarily everything's going through the tax office. The JobKeeper payments are available for any employers who have experienced a downturn of more than 30% in their business. Now, apologies, I've just got a motorbike going past my house, so hopefully you didn't hear that. But Now, we've had a lot of questions about what this means. What does a downturn mean? How do they calculate the 30%? We will go into that detail shortly. So please bear with us. But if I can get through some of these details, I will. I'll explain some of those a little bit later. This is for businesses over $1 billion. I don't think we have too many of those on the call today. If you do, call me directly afterwards and we'll have a chat. The amount of each subsidy is currently $1,500 per eligible employee, and that is payable from the 30th of March 2020. So 30th of March 2020 was Monday of this week when they actually came out and announced this. The way it will work is that if you had employees on the books at that time or a period prior to that, once you go through this process, you will be entitled to $1,500 per fortnight per employee. This legislation is very simple in that it can be rolled out. However, as I said earlier, there's some detail that we don't know. So we can explain that to you further today if we can. Otherwise, we can explain it further down the track. The period that you will receive this for is 6 months. So again, they've said that it'll go from the 30th of March through till the end of September to assist. The government obviously see that this period of turmoil for everyone is going to last up to 6 months. And so they're prepared to carry employees and employers through this period. And the full amount, as I said earlier, of $1,500 is payable to all eligible employees, and that is full-time, part-time and casuals. Now, casuals comes with a bit of a rider, but we can explain that as well. The first payment will be made from the ATO on the 1st of May 2020, so they've drawn a line in the sand, said that's when it's going to come through. And payments will stop if the employee is no longer employed by the business. So again, this is going to be, we can already see it's an administrative process whereby they're going to want to know not only what's going on in your business, but what employees you have in your business. Employers will be eligible for this subsidy. Apologies, I've just been asked to close down my emails, so if you'll just bear with me for a moment, I shall do that. Thank you for that, Serena. Okay, there we go. Sorry, that should certainly assist with what we're doing. And please, if there are any other issues, Serena, let me know. Okay, so getting back to employers, employers will be eligible for this subsidy if their business has a turnover of less than $1 billion. As we said earlier, that is the majority of businesses, unless you are a multinational or a large public. So, and the important thing in this regard is your turnover must have fallen by more than 30%. So we'll run through some examples and some detail around this shortly, but in the meantime, we'll just press on. We talked about the other types of businesses, and we wouldn't have any clients that are subject to the major bank levy. Importantly, in all of this, and this is where a lot of people are asking questions, not for profit entities, including charities, but also self-employed individuals, that is businesses without employees that meet the turnover tests, are also eligible. So if you're a sole trader, you are also eligible for this. So I encourage you to continue on and follow through with what we mentioned or what we talk about shortly. Eligible employees are employees who are currently employed by the eligible employer. Okay, now that does, as it says there, that does include those that have been stood down or about to be stood down and are rehired. So please keep that in mind. There's a lot of businesses that did actually close their doors 1 or 2 weeks ago. If you had to stand down employees at that time, they can be rehired and they are eligible for these payments. Similarly, as I said earlier, employees must have been they need to be full-time, part-time, or long-term casuals, a casual employed on a regular basis for longer than 12 months. Apologies, you've got my video as well. I think Serena said it disappeared, but if I'm still there, feel free to tell me to turn it off too, Serena, if it's not helping with things. So in relation to casuals, Claude and I actually just had a discussion with someone who had a casual that had been on and off over the last 12 months. So my view on that, or my take, is that you need to assess everything on a case-by-case basis. But the important dates there for all other employees is the 1st of March 2020. So please keep that in mind. We will chat a bit more about some of the details shortly. They also must be at least 16 years of age, and they must also be an Australian citizen, holder of a permanent visa, or a protected special category visa holder, a non-protected special category visa holder, which I'm not sure about, but that gives you some of the detail, or a special category visa holder. Okay, so there's a number of other categories that, I believe this is courtesy of Jethro, who has gotten some of the detail on this, but he's actually telling us some people that are not your average Australian citizen, who else is that this is eligible for. And you also cannot be in receipt of JobKeeper from another employer. So you can't double dip, obviously. It is a way of making sure that no one rorts this system, which the ATO, of course, will be keeping a very close eye on. The application process, and I know a number of you on the call have already been through this in relation to your business, but the application process itself is extremely straightforward. We will give you the link shortly if you haven't already done so, or we can send it out via email later. However, it is just a matter of logging onto the website, letting them know your name, email address, contact number, and your business's ABN and name, I believe. So it is very, very straightforward if you have those details, and that would include if you're a sole trader. I would be going through and completing that registration process. So it is very straightforward. You will then get, in my case, I've seen an email and a text message come back saying, thank you for your registration. We'll be in touch in due course. Now, how that rolls out, we don't yet know, because I'm yet to see anything from the ATO in relation to how you confirm your qualification as an eligible employer and who your eligible employees are. But we will see that in due course, so we'll have a chat about that shortly. It's important as well, the ATO is going to ask for monthly updates from all employers. And employers must provide eligible employees at a minimum $1,500 per fortnight before tax. So we'll run through a case study shortly that'll explain that a bit more. If you have employees that earn less than that, as well as employees that earn more than that. And it will be the employer's decision to pay superannuation on any additional wage paid because of the JobKeeper payment. When it says it's the employer's decision, that's, I suppose, being polite about it, because if you are paying these sorts of amounts, you will be required to pay superannuation. However, it's leaving it at the discretion of the employer to be responsible for themselves. The application process for businesses with no employees. As I said earlier, you still register via the same link. You do provide your ABN, and you nominate an individual to receive the payment and provide that individual's TFN. And at that time, you will provide a declaration as to recent business activity. So a lot of this information is coming to light day by day. As we know, with this situation currently, everything is changing daily, if not hourly, in our world. So we're finding more and more information every time we turn on the computer. And again, there's a monthly update required to the ATO. That will determine your eligibility, similar to any other sort of business. And again, payment will be made to the individual's bank account. So what we have got is, in relation to JobKeeper, what I may do is I will flick across to a very quick case study that has been provided by the ATO. So if you'll just bear with me, and I'm also going to ask if Claude can take over and just run through this so that we can all see what I'm referring to. Okay, so Claude, can you see that screen okay?
Yes, I can, Calvin. Yep.
I'll
Hopefully
just make it a little bit larger, guys.
Thanks, Calvin. Okay, so as Calvin mentioned, this is a case study from the ATO website, and I'm just going to read it, and hopefully it'll make sense to everyone. So this is an employer with employees on different wages. So Adam, he owns a real estate business with 2 employees. The business is still operating at this stage, but Adam expects that turnover will decline by more than 30% in the coming months. The employees are Anne, who's a permanent full-time on a salary of $3,000 per fortnight prior to tax, and he continues working for the business. And there's also Nick, who's a permanent part-time. Sorry, Cal, you might need to get rid of...
Oh, sorry, you got that?
Yep, okay. Nick, who's a permanent part-time on a salary of $1,000 per fortnight before tax, and he still continues to work. So with Adam, he's eligible to receive the JobKeeper payments for each employee who have the following benefits for the business. So the business continues to pay Anne her full-time salary of $3,000 per fortnight before tax. And the business will receive $1,500 per fortnight from the JobKeeper payments from the ATO. And this is used to subsidise the cost of Anne's salary, and will continue to paying the super guarantee on Anne's income as per normal. So in that case, nothing changes. Anne gets $3,000 per fortnight. However, the government will subsidise Adam $1,500 of that per fortnight. So in effect, in this case, he will be $1,500 per fortnight out of pocket, but he's basically covered by the government 50% of Anne's salary. And he's still required to meet the super obligations for Anne at her regular wage of $3,000. In regards to Nick, the business continues to pay Nick his $1,000 per fortnight, as well as receiving an additional $500 per fortnight before tax. So this totals the $1,500 per fortnight, which the government is providing to Adam as a business owner. So the business receives $1,500 per fortnight before tax from the JobKeeper payment, which will subsidise the cost of Nick's salary. The business must continue to pay the super on the $1,000 per fortnight, which is Nick's normal salary. However, it's Adam's discretion whether he would like to pay super on the additional $500 before tax. Adam can register his initial interest in the scheme from 30th of March, which was a couple of days ago, followed subsequently by an application to the ATO with details about his eligible employees. In addition, Adam is required to advise his employees that he has nominated them as eligible employees to receive the payment. Adam will provide information to the ATO on a monthly basis and receive the payment monthly in arrears. So this is pretty much, as Calvin mentioned, that you register your interest. You will then need to provide details of the employees that are eligible and qualify. And then from, I think it was early May, sorry, is when you get your first subsidy. But I believe it's backdated to 30 March.
Thank you, Claude,
Yep.
for that.
Is that all there was to that, Kelvin?
That was it, Claude. Thank you very much. So as we said, we just wanted to run through a real live example. Let me just shoot back to our PowerPoint if I can. Okay, so now keep in mind, everyone, we will share these the PowerPoint with you once we finish the session, so you'll have access to this this case study as well. Okay, we have also gone through where we will we'll send some other case studies to you so you can see what else may apply to you depending on your circumstances. We have also included in this PowerPoint, apologies, the process you go through in registering for JobKeeper. So again, we can send you the link. It's actually popped up there. Hopefully you can all see that, but it does link within the presentation, so you'll be able to find that. And as I mentioned earlier, it's very straightforward. So we can walk through some of the questions that people have been asking shortly, so that you can see what it is that you need to do in this whole process. What I am going to do very quickly is just jump into a little bit of cash flow planning, and just to explain only over the next 4 or 5 minutes what we've been doing with clients in relation to cash flow. With all businesses that we work with, and any business really should be preparing a very quick cash flow to understand where their business is, even in the best of times. However, under the current circumstances where a lot of things are up in the air, we think it's critical that you now start monitoring your cash flow monthly, weekly almost, and looking ahead to the next 3, 6, 12 months to see where you end up. So what we really want to do is run through, again, very quickly, just to show you what we usually look at. Let me just find my spreadsheet. Okay, so can you all see that? Claude, can you just confirm that you can see the spreadsheet on the screen? Claude, can you hear me, Claude?
Sorry, Kelv. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I can see that fine.
Great. So look, I'm not going to go through this in detail. What I just wanted to show is that, as I said earlier, we call this our quick and dirty cash flow. It just looks at a profit forecast, a cash flow forecast as well, depending on where your business is currently at. And it gives you some, quick demonstration of how you are tracking. It doesn't have to be rocket science. You don't have to go to the nth degree on things. We set it up normally as a base scenario, which is where you think it's going to be. And then the template that we use, we allow you to flex it slightly one way or the other, just to have a look at what might happen if, for example, your sales do drop 50% or 75%. If you then start to get in your JobKeeper allowances from the government, if you can put into there some of the other stimulus package bonus payments that come through from the ATO in relation to pay-as-you-go withholding or being an employer. So it is just critical. This is really where we wanted to just show people what we're doing, what you should be doing as well. So again, if you've used Excel, you should be able to pull something like this together. If you struggle in that regard, or you need our input, please let us know. We can help you to do this. We'll try and spend 1, 2, 3 hours with you if necessary. However, we'll try and do it in the best format so that we can get you on your way as quick as possible. So please come back to us with any questions you may have in that regard. Otherwise, hopefully, I just wanted to impress upon people, cash flow planning at the moment is critical with where we currently find ourselves, because there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and we want people to be certain that that they know how their business is impacted under different circumstances. So, look, that's all I really wanted to talk about, unless we have further questions on cash flow. What I did want to run through is some of the frequently asked questions that we are getting, not only in the last 24 hours, but over the last 7 or 10 days. So what we have done is we've put up some questions here that I will run through. And hopefully they do actually answer a lot of questions that people may still have. So the critical one that people are asking us at the moment: how is the fall in revenue assessed for the JobKeeper payment? Now, again, we have limited detail in this regard, but we are working with that and assessing it on the basis of how we understand the ATO would normally work. So officially, the ATO are saying to establish that a business has faced a 30% fall in their turnover, they would be expected to establish their turnover has fallen in the relative month or 3 months relative to their turnover a year earlier. Now, the way we look at that is that we would officially or initially look at, for example, March. How does March 2020 compare with March 2019? We would also look at the March quarter 2020 compared to the March quarter 2019. And failing that, I'd be considering the year to date ending 31st of March 2020 compared to the same period last year. Now, they're hard and fast, so it's almost a black and white answer based on that. However, the ATO have also given scope for us to lodge a case with them to say, look, I might not qualify on those grounds. However, my business has declined because of these reasons, and this is the outcome. So don't just discount this if you don't think you've fallen 30% on any of those other measures. We all know there's businesses out there that have gone from 100% to 0% overnight. That's obvious. We know they've declined, and those businesses qualify for these sorts of payments if you had employees. But if you're not sure, if you've still had a reasonable March, again, we've had some businesses that have had the best March they've ever had just because of the unique business they've got. However, it could fall off a cliff in April. So this is not just all about what happened at the end of March, it's about what's happening over the next 6 months. So please keep that in mind. Our next question was, is there a cut-off date for the JobKeeper application? There's not a cut-off date, but if your business meets the eligibility criteria, you will be able to apply from 30th of March 2020 for up to 6 months. So as I said a minute ago, March might have been great, even April might be great, but May and June might be awful. So please keep this in mind. I am telling every client that we have got to register. It doesn't hurt you to register. Doesn't mean you have to do anything further. You might just say to the ATO, no thanks, I don't need it. But to give yourself the best opportunity to access these benefits, register as soon as you can. Our next question was, what documentation do we need to provide to prove the 30% reduction in revenue? As an example, we've said that businesses should provide a 12-month comparative P&L statement. As I said earlier, March monthly 2019 versus 2020. The ATO is looking at sales/revenue turnover. But if profit is down, you should supply that information as well. As I said, it does look like you'll have the ability to apply and explain your circumstances. So, but it does seem to be top line. It's not taxable income. It is purely or initially based on revenue, but please talk to us if you don't think that applies. And we can help you if the ATO say we need year-to-date management accounts, if we need to look at BASs, those sorts of things. What I am saying to people as well, though, watch your invoicing at the end of March. Particularly, it is important to have a look at what you did March last year and the March quarter and year to date. So start to get a handle on your figures. If you utilize Xero or any other cloud accounting packages, it's a lot easier, but otherwise just do the simple sums. The next question was, how does it affect employees currently on maternity leave that have gone beyond the maternity leave subsidy period? That was a good question. I'm not sure who asked that, but you did actually stump us because we don't have an answer at the moment in relation to that. However, we are hoping to get more clarity in the coming days and weeks. So if you would like to stay in touch with us, please do so. And keep in mind, a lot of these questions, along with a number of other questions, we are putting on our website onto our frequently asked questions page. So keep going back to that page if you like. Again, there's a link on the PowerPoint for that. Does the JobKeeper payment apply to businesses that were forced to close down last week and not classed as essential? My initial answer to this is yes, definitely yes. You can see the detail here. If you had employees at the 1st of March, if you stood them down even on the 2nd of March, you need to look at what employees you had. You need to look at the 31st of March. But 30th of March is the key date, as is 1st of March. So if you've shut down since then, that's not an issue. If people have been stood down, you can rehire them. So there's a number of issues around that if they've already gone out and sought assistance from Centrelink, or if they've gone and gotten assistance from another employer. But keep that in mind. Just because your business has closed the doors doesn't mean you're ineligible. How does a turnover test work in practice? What if my turnover is inconsistent each month? Is that taken into consideration? To establish the fall in turnover, most businesses would be expected to establish their turnover has fallen in the relevant month or 3 months. Where a business was not in operation a year earlier, or where their turnover a year earlier was not representative, the Commissioner does have a discretion. So this is where I'm coming from. We can make application and explain your circumstances. It could be extremely volatile. So we need an opportunity, but you only get that opportunity if you register. So please, I encourage you to register as soon as possible. If you have already registered, you will, not unlike myself, be getting emails and text messages saying, thanks very much. But to date, we haven't seen anything further. So if anyone is getting anything, let me know. However, at the moment, I believe they're getting all of their systems in place so they can start to ask their questions. So they were really the questions that were asked prior to this session. As I mentioned earlier, happy to take any other questions that people may have already in relation to this. So I'm not sure if anyone has been raising questions, Serena, but if anyone does have a question out there, feel free to type it into the chat panel and we can have a look and hopefully answer you. If not, I'm hoping that between us at Here Business and Wealth, we've been able to answer most of your questions already. As I said, we did have a number raised prior to this session today, which was certainly helpful. But if you would like to, as Serena's just said to everyone, please feel free to type in a question that you may have. If we do finish up today and then all of a sudden you think of a question, please drop us an email, ask the question. Paul and I are both happy to help people wherever possible. We also have a number of our other team on board on this call also who are more than willing to jump on a phone call.
Can I just jump in for a sec, Kelvin?
Sure.
Look, a lot of these stimulus packages announced by the government, firstly with the getting credits back on the tax you withhold from employees, and now with the JobKeeper package that's been announced, it's my belief that the ATO, well, it's obviously the ATO wants to keep as many people employed within businesses as possible, and to give business owners the opportunity to keep employing people. So while a lot of it is might not be black and white in some of each individual business circumstances, I honestly believe that where you are genuine in your intent, then I believe the government / ATO will do everything possible to keep your employees employed. It doesn't relate to GST or not meeting your super obligations. They will still need to be maintained. But I think with some of these questions, there seem to be a bit of grey areas, which, like Calvin mentioned, there's very little detail at this stage. But I still believe that if your intentions are genuine and you want to keep employees and you meet the eligibility criteria, then I believe the ATO will come to the assistance as best as you can, again, to keep everybody employed and away from the welfare system.
As Claude said, and I've said to a few clients, the ATO are going to treat everyone as their own personal Centrelink office. So that's the intent here with keeping people employed. However, they're being paid effectively as if they're on a welfare payment or a Centrelink payment. So look, very quickly, we have had some questions raised. So I'm going to just scroll back. Kirsten has asked a question that says, in terms of employees needing to be employed as of the 1st of the 3rd, 2020, if an employee signed their contract on the 13th of the 2nd, do they still qualify? My answer to that would be if their employment started on the 13th of the 2nd, then yes, they would qualify. So you would have to look at their employment status, Kirsten, and it will come back to the specifics of that case. Again, once the ATO come back to you and say, give us details of your employees, that's when you'll be able to provide that information. And I would advise you to be putting a fair bit of thought into it at the time as to how you answer those questions, because it is a declaration you're making to the ATO, but again, happy to help you out. Eileen has asked, if you need to top up someone on less than $1,000, and given that you won't know until after the end of month if you are 30% down, would you top them up in arrears? My response to that would be no, I would not be topping them up until you know you are actually going to get the money from the ATO. It's a personal decision, obviously, but I don't believe you could guarantee, if you can't guarantee that your revenue's down and therefore you're not entitled to it, if they're only getting $1,000, they wouldn't actually be expecting to get any more than $1,000. So hopefully that makes sense. I'm sorry, I'm conscious of time here, guys, so I am actually running through reasonably quickly. Dina, hi Dina, how are you? Sorry, I can see you've got disconnected from the call. So to register for JobKeeper, you only came across an option on the website to say register for JobKeeper updates. This is how you register. Look, I believe it is just the one registration. So if you're unsure, if you registered, you should have gotten a confirmation saying, thanks for your registration, we'll be in touch. However, again, check with the link we have in the presentation today. And if you're unsure still, go back and re-register. It can't hurt. So again, you've got my details, Dina, so just drop me a line if you're still concerned about that. Rob has asked for clarification, is the JobKeeper payment taxable revenue of the employer? As I understand, it's taxable income to the employee. Look, the JobKeeper payment, as in the amount received, will be taxable. And as it's paid to the employee, it will be deductible. So in the hands of the employer, it'll be neutral. The employee will have an income item. It is effectively no different to the wage they would receive if they were employed by you. So good question, Rob. Thank you for that. I can contrast that though with the stimulus payments, the boosting cash flow payments that are coming from the ATO in relation to pay-as-you-go withholding. And we talked about this last Friday. Those amounts are tax-free, so they're different. So they will show as revenue, but they won't be taxable. So they're the ones that we need everyone to be grabbing with both hands. So Rob, happy to explain that later if you need more clarification. Bill Van Didden. Bill, how you going, Bill? Hope you're well. We have a casual employee who is over 70 and was told by his family very firmly to self-isolate. Is he eligible? Bill, that isn't necessarily covered by the JobKeeper payments. However, you would qualify if he's an employee, and you would be able to continue to employ him. His employment status with you, though, is a different matter. So that's a HR issue more than anything, and is covered by Fair Work provisions. But it also comes back to what I have seen people considering is whether that person goes on sick leave, takes annual leave, takes leave without pay. There's a few other considerations there, Bill. So that might require a quick discussion with Claude or myself to help you out with that. So apologies for not giving you a perfect example there. I can understand what's going on with that guy, but it's fairly detailed, and I'm not game to give legal advice just yet on those sorts of things, given I'm not a lawyer in this area, but I have got a fair bit of information on it which might help you. So happy to have a chat afterwards, Bill, if that helps. And yes, Dino, I got that you were disconnected, so no problem. Look, thank you very much for all those questions. Hopefully I have answered those appropriately. I'm not seeing any more. So what I will do for the moment is what I just am going to do, and it might please a few people, is turn off my video just because I see my internet connection is a bit unstable. But look, I wanted to very quickly run through what we have been talking to clients about in the main over the last 2 weeks. This is critical. These are the issues that we talked about last Friday when we had a similar webinar, and if anyone is interested, we look like we'll probably run these weekly. So please stay in touch with us and jump on board. We'll change. But as I'm about to do now, I just wanted to quickly include in here the certain areas that we're talking to clients about daily. Claude and I in particular, but as well as our expanded team are working through a process where we dig into your individual business and go through these particular areas. But as a general, this is what you need to consider if you're in business today. It is these 7 key areas. Cash, you need to build this war chest. I know we keep saying it, but you need to build a war chest for your business to get you through. You need to be considering banks and your funding. Talk to your bank. What facilities have you got? What facilities do you need? Protection deals with wills and enduring powers of attorney. Again, I touched on this last week. Happy to help in that regard and make sure you've got the appropriate measures in place. Your management team and your employees. At this time more than ever, we've talked about how you can help maintain these employees too. So really important that you start talking to them openly, being honest with them, and working with them to make sure we can all get through this. Your customers and suppliers, similar. Okay, communication is key at the moment. And last but by no means least, mental health. There is a lot of stress and anxiety out there in the community, business community in particular, as well as in the employee world, where people are worried about their jobs, their livelihoods, their family, their health. The same applies to business people. We are seeing some people having a really rough time at the moment. So we're very concerned about everyone's mental health. We're by no means mental health experts, but we encourage you to look after your mental health, look after your family, look after your state of mind. Everyone needs to look after each other at the moment. So in saying that as well, and I know if you open the West Australian, turn on Channel 7 News, whatever it is, there's so much doom and gloom out there. I encourage you to consider that we will, and keep in mind that we will get through all of this. This time will pass. We will get to the other side of this. So it is critical at the moment that we all work on planning our way forward. Get to next month, next quarter, next year. We will get to the other side of this. It's just a process of working through it. And that's where we're really working. Oh, apologies, there's another. This is really where we're working with clients on business continuity planning so that we can move through to this next stage. And we'll look back on this in 6 months' time and hopefully, have a good think about it, and in some ways probably have a laugh about how we're all sitting at home working. But I want everyone to focus on some of the positives that are coming out. We're seeing some good wins at the moment, and we encourage you all to keep a positive mindset. Sit down and give some serious thought to your business and the planning of your business so you can continue through the next 6 months. It's critical, and that's where we feel we're playing an important role at the moment. We're working very closely with a number of clients, and we want to work with clients even more so. If you need help, please, you know where to find us. So come and talk to us. We are all. You can see Claude's in his lounge room. I'm actually sitting on my in my front yard at the moment, but we're all available. Not quite 24/7, but it feels like it at the moment. So. Finally, I want to thank you all for jumping on board. We've got some very good numbers on board today, so it's encouraging. I unfortunately don't know everyone that's on the call. I know most, I believe, but I encourage you to make contact with ourselves, particularly Claude or I, or just email the firm. Let us know what you found useful, what you'd like help with, if you need any more information. And as I said, we will be sending out the slides. So please keep that in mind. My apologies. I will just turning my video on just so that I can say goodbye to you all, because I do appreciate your time, and apologies for running over. Our contact details, if you are looking for us, you can email us at hello@herebusiness.com.au. Otherwise, our website is herebusiness.com.au. So thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate your time. We are available to chat. Otherwise, if you're up for it, if you find this useful, we'll no doubt we'll have more to talk to you about in a week's time. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great Friday and enjoy your weekend. Thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking to you all soon. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.